Basil, you're speaking to us from one of the 8 villages in this region called Masaffer, Yatta. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Will you tell us the history of the status of this area in the West Bank? It really goes back to, I mean, in addition to obviously the occupation, but specifically in 1980, a Supreme Court decision at that time.
So want to go? Yeah. So Masaffer Yatta, it's in the southern occupied West Bank. It's located like in the South Hebron Hills to until the Green Line, the border of the 1948. And this area, as all the West Bank, was occupied in 1967 by the Israeli military occupation. And since then, we are fully under the control of the Israeli military occupation, and we don't choose the laws that oppose on us. We don't choose the ones that controlling us. We've been controlled all these decades by a foreign army who's doing what they want, just because they can have guns and they can have tanks and they have the power to do it. So my area, Masaffer Yatta, it's like about 20 Palestinian communities. Mostly the people here are farmers. The livelihood, they keep sheep, they plant olive trees, grapes, and they keep like hundreds of sheep. And they live in caves, in simple houses, and in tents. So Israel wanted to legitimize the presence of the Israeli settlements and outposts, that they are illegal for the international law, but they wanted it to be legally for their own laws, and how they want to make our presence illegal in our land, and how they want to make the presence of their own settlers is legal here. So what happened in 1981, the Israeli politician Ariel Sharon, who was the Minister of Agricultural Ministry, decided to like designated 14 of Masaffer Yatta communities, like 14 out of 20, as a firing zone area, which is mean only for the Israeli military law to be there to do like military exercises in these 14 communities, which is like very direct and very clear of like violating the international law and the international human rights law to designate like a 14 communities where Palestinians, indigenous people, civilians, communities are existing since hundreds of years in this land. In one day, just an Israeli politician decided to designate this whole land as a firing zone area. Actually, what he did, he said they want this like in public. At that time, they said that this land should be for the army to do military exercises, but in his secret meetings, he wrote an documents that they were like released a year ago, which is mean after 40 years they released this document. He wrote very clearly that they're gonna designate Masaffer Yatta as a firing zone area is to keep this land for the future for the Israeli settlements, and to prevent, as they called the Arabs, from expanding and to have this land in their hands. So what happened? Israel tried from 1981 till 1999 to put pressure through the Israeli army on the residents, mostly of the 14 communities, by demolishing their caves and preventing them to graze their sheep, doing military exercises at night by shootings here and there near the caves and near the houses, raiding the caves at night, taking the people out, doing researches of the houses. So they kept putting pressure every day in order to make the people leave this land. It didn't work actually until November 1999. Israel invaded these communities with a heavy military convoy, trucks, and bulldozers, and they like start putting all the things of the people inside these big trucks, and including also they put women and the children, and they beat up some of the men before they arrest them and kick the rest away. That day, like really, the ethnic cleansed 700 people. 700 people, Palestinians, were made homeless at that day in November 1999. They took everyone out of these communities. There was some pictures from that day, and that brought some attention of the international community, international human rights organizations. So the Palestinians, after the army take them out, they tried all the time to go back. Every day they go, the soldiers just beat them up, and they arrest them, taking
Basil,
their sheep. And
let me just stop you there at 1999. So the at any time, so if I understand it is easier within the context of Israeli law to designate an area to be a military exercise zone, and that became sort of like the backdoor way to both begin the process of expulsion, but also to contain as a way of controlling the area, because within the context of Israeli law, there was no other sort of like legal means.
yes, so they are using the law of firing zone area in order to take the land away. When the
Okay.
army deciding that this land should be firing zone, then whatever all the Palestinians have the evidence of the land, the ownership of the land, they say it doesn't matter. The army, you need this land for military exercises, and you can't live in it. It is your land, but the army need this land, so you can't keep it because the soldiers need to do military exercises, and it is illegal for the international law for an occupying army to come do military exercises in an occupied territories. So
Okay.
what happened 6 months after this, like, evacuation in 1999, the 6 months after that, the Israeli High Court gave a temporary court ruling that the Palestinians can go stay at their homes, at their land, until the final decision will come out. So the time the residents start to go back, Israel allowed the settlers to create three illegal outposts nearby the communities. Part of each of these outposts are actually in the firing zone area. So these settlers who living in this illegal outpost became part of the process to put pressure on the Palestinians to leave this land by committing settlers like attacks and terrorizing the communities during night and day, and preventing Palestinians to go out of the field. And if they go out, the settlers will go and attack them. The Israeli police don't arrest them. Same time, the Israeli military don't allow the Palestinians in those communities to have any water access, any electricity, and demolishing process going on every week since 2000 till today, destroying, like, I witnessed like hundreds of these demolitions, and like I witnessed and documenting, and it is really heartbreaking that bulldozers come easily with heavy forces to destroy the houses and schools of the Palestinians. So
What do they
last
when
May,
they I'm sorry, when they do this, do they, I mean, I realize they don't feel that they need any justification, but within the context of the Israeli legal system, what do they say is the justification? Again, just exercises. Is that it? Or is there some other?
exercises mostly in this, we're talking about these communities, it is like they're claiming that it is firing zone area, and
Okay.
civilians can't live there. They're not just like destroying homes and schools, but they confiscated a mobile clinic twice. They confiscated lawyers' cars and journalists' cars, water tanks, and under the pretext of this is a firing zone, or like you don't have permission to build here. What I'm telling you is they are creating these
Yeah.
military laws, as they are like by force they are controlling us. They're claiming that these are laws, but we don't choose these laws. We're the people don't choose any of these laws. We're just being controlled by a foreign army. Again, I'm saying this, and this army mostly funded by the US, and doing this to us, it's so crazy that they come so easy, taking the kids out of their school and destroying the school. This happened last time in Masaffer Yatta last November, when an convoy of army came at a normal morning, while the students were in their classroom, and soldiers like ran to the classrooms, slipping the doors and standing nearby, keeping the children inside, and then used like stun grenades against us journalists and parents, pushing us away. The moment they like throw the first stun grenade, the kids start opening the windows, scaring and running out, jumping from the windows, crying and running to their home. Moments after that, the soldiers invaded their classrooms, stealing their books and balloons and chairs and tables. And the bulldozer come in, driven by and owned by a settler who live in illegal outpost nearby, and demolished the school of these kids in a few minutes. And this was a dream of the kids, that they have a school in their village, that they could have education inside, while their parents couldn't have this education because they never had school there. So the army come and destroy this school to prevent them.